The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network. Are you looking to have more meaning and joy in life? Living gratefully is a powerful practice that transforms every day. For 25 years, Grateful Living has empowered people worldwide to discover hope and happiness even in the most challenging times. Our simple daily practices will expand your perspective, awaken you to life's precious gifts, and deepen your connections. You may not have time to sit and meditate, but there's always time to be grateful. Start practicing today at grateful.org.
On Friday, November 15th, Netflix and Most Valuable Promotions bring you the highly anticipated heavyweight boxing mega event of the year. Jake El Gallo Paul will go toe-to-toe in the ring against Iron Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet. Don't miss this epic showdown live from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Watch Paul versus Tyson, Friday, November 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, live only on Netflix.
Wholeness means to me being in a state of joy.
Wholeness means feeling complete, owning my authentic gifts.
Wholeness is really connected. Everything is connected to everything.
Wholeness is where we have access to all parts of ourselves.
Maybe since you did stones, I'm going to do a different deck of stones.
Yeah.
So the card, this is kind of interesting, is carnelian. There's the card.
I have that on my counter right now.
Oh, wow. And it says it is urge for discoveries. It urge for discoveries. Carnelian gives you courage to face your everyday challenges with ease. It's also, the stone's name derives from the Latin Carnelius. Carnelian provides us with courage and power, just in a more subtle way. It refers to the courage to face the everyday challenges and do it with a certain ease. The stone lifts your emotional mood. Depressive and melancholic moods are lifted. It resolves confusion and provides mental clarity. It provides a lust for life that includes sexuality even. Ooh. It encourages us to voice our desires so that our sexuality is not a taboo topic. It can stimulate our cardiovascular system, and it's a stone that helps a lack of appetite and helps you absorb nutrients. So it's very much in that second chakra, the orange. That makes sense. It helps put you in a buoyant mood, which makes it easier to cope with everyday life. You can even drink carnelian flavored water.
Flavored?
Flavored, that's what it is. So I don't know what that means. Carnelian flavored water. But that is our stone. It's very much an orange, very much a second chakra type stone. Yeah. So today is Chalene's turn to talk to her high school self.
Yes, yeah. So I'll start with the funny story. So the one thing I would tell my high school self, if you are looking for a good haircut, please don't go to a beauty school. So
hey, we both had the same.
I know. Oh my gosh. I was so inspired by the movie Speed, and Sandra Bullock had this really cute bob. And so I went to the beauty school and I was like trying to explain it. Like, I want this short haircut, had a couple little piecey things. And he goes, I don't know what you want. So he calls the teacher over. She goes, I know exactly what you want. So she sits me down. She starts cutting my hair right here down like this. That is called a mullet. Like she cut one side and I'm
no,
like this. And she goes, do you like it? You got me to do the other side? I was like, well, you already did one, so I guess you got to do the other one. It was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
And so when you talked about putting headbands in, I had to like put gel and like I had to put the sides up because it just looked so bad. I remember telling one of my high school teachers, and he just starts busting up laughing. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's proof it looks bad. So it was horrible. And it was right before senior pictures. So I had this senior picture with me, and I decided I wanted to have a serious, like what sensual face.
Yeah.
I remember my mom being like, are you sure you want this? I'm like, I do. It
You're all
is.
posing.
Yeah,
You're
it's
all,
not style. It looks terrible. It is very cringe, and I can't wait for you to see it. So
oh, wow. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it
funny.
was a good time. So that's yeah, I would share that advice with everybody out there. They're great for a trim. And if you have a friend or a sister doing it, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and do it. But proceed with caution, please.
That's
Oh
awesome. We
my
both have
gosh.
that. We both have that.
Yeah,
That's funny. Yep.
I know.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So yeah. Um, and I don't necessarily have specific situations kind of like you did. I like how you did it chronologically, but just a couple of ideas that came to me as I was thinking about my high school self. And some of them feel really tender, so I hope I
Hmm.
don't turn into a ball baby. But um, I in high school, I felt like I had a pretty good sense of self. I um was really okay with being different. So I liked the Muppets. Who liked the Muppets in high school? Like that's kind of weird. I would find these shoes that I loved, and my friends all thought they were really weird. And they called them Chalene shoes, and I would get a new pair and they would know, like, oh, those are Chalene shoes. But I'm telling you, 2 years later, they would be wearing that style of shoes. And not that I was a trailblazer. I don't necessarily think, but I just really liked them. And it, I just liked them. And it was okay for me to wear them even when nobody else was wearing them.
I
And
think it's
I
clear that you were a trailblazer. I think that's clear.
maybe, I don't know if that feels uncomfortable to claim that, but um, yeah, and I really lost that as an adult. It went
Mm-hmm.
away, and it makes me so sad to think that I couldn't hold on to that, or why didn't I hold on to that part of myself?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's a lot of factors that go into that, but if I could go back and tell her, I would tell her that it's okay to be different. It's okay to not do exactly what your parents want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if what you do, not everybody agrees is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think growing up in a religious atmosphere, so
Mm-hmm.
much is what is acceptable. And so you're kind of looking around and making sure that nobody's, looking at you bad or judging you.
Right.
And that just really hurt my sense of self, that whole idea that we need to all be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah,
so
there
I would,
wasn't a looking outside for answers. It was very much doing with what the answers were given to you. That's very much how there wasn't like, why don't you go inside and see what works best for you? That just
right.
wasn't an option.
No, it was, yeah, let me tell you who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to show up, what you're supposed to look like, what choices you're supposed to make.
Right.
And yeah. So I would tell her that. I would also tell her that marriage won't complete you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not romantic. You were talking about the idea of romance, and you watch a lot of movies, and their life is crap, and then they meet a man and everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great story,
Mm-hmm.
but it hasn't been my reality.
Right.
And not that that marriage is bad or that you shouldn't get married. That's not what I'm
Right.
saying.
Right.
But it's not going to cure the problems that you bring into the relationship. It's not going to make you a certain kind of person. Um, but I think because, and I don't, and maybe you can help me through this, but I don't want to blame the religion
Mm-hmm.
for my ideology, but it very much did frame this idea of who I wanted to be when I grew up. So it was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be a mom. I just want to be married. I just want to do those things. And so the idea of education was not very exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I just thought, oh, well, I'm just going to get married, and that's the answer. And we would joke around like, who do you think's going to get married first? And I secretly wanted it
Right.
to be me because I felt like that was a stamp of approval on me as a person, that a boy would choose me to marry. And I just remember I was talking to a girl in college the other day, and she was like, yeah, all my friends are getting married, and I don't know. And the feeling I got from her, and it could be me projecting, was that she was feeling less than because she wasn't getting married. That it was,
Totally.
and that's exactly how I felt.
Yep.
That all the cute ones got taken, at
Mm-hmm.
19 and 20. And, if you weren't, I hate to say the word picked, but that's how I felt.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Yeah. If you weren't picked, then there was a flaw, that you weren't desirable enough, either in looks or however. I think looks was pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And And I had a bishop tell me, or an ecclesiastical leader pull me into an interview and say, well, if you don't go to the church school, you won't get married. You have to go to there to get married. And like, as if that was the only thing that I should be. And I look back at that and think, oh, that's so sad. And I pushed up against him because I was like, I am not going there.
Right.
I had a little bit of sense of self to say, don't tell me what to do. But it still affected me. It still made me feel like that is really the penultimate of who I could be, is a wife and a mom.
Right. Even going for your education, it wasn't even about your education.
No, it
It's just
wasn't.
about being married, getting married. Yeah.
Yeah. And I look back at myself, not necessarily my high school, but my college age self, because that was so ingrained in me. Is like, I wasted a lot of time when I should have been selfish and
Yes.
self-serving and all of those things. And the maiden phase that we talk about sometimes,
Right.
I should have been going through all of those things, but I wasted a lot of time worrying about things that I didn't need to worry about.
Yeah.
Like, my future. And you need to worry about your future. I'm not saying that. And maybe not worry, but work towards a future.
Right.
But
I think that time in life is supposed to be kind of a selfish time, because for the rest of your life, being a mom is you cannot be selfish as a mom. You kind of needed to in that time. And
right.
it was thinking of others and thinking of what other people would think, or listening to what other people thought, or that too many of us have done that, and it's not hard to do, because if you were to go against the grain, you would have to go into far left field. Like you would be so different than everyone else. And that's scary. That's hard.
Yeah, it is scary. And it's scary to think about, if I chose something different, I have no idea what that looks like. It's
right.
Really, yeah. It's like I said, it's scary. It was too scary for me to do something different, to make a different choice. So I think if I, could tell myself, go back to my high school self and say, what a boy thinks about you is not you. If a boy likes you, that doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. And that marriage will happen.
Yep.
It's going to happen. And to spend time with yourself, to get to know, like, that's such a special time. I think it's a really special time. And I do think that I did a little bit of it, but there was always in the back of my mind that, oh, there's got to be something better. There's got to be something better.
But I think too, like, I can't like say enough how the messages that I received, like I say, from every movie, every little afternoon soap opera, was this damsel that gets rescued by this man, or she gets accepted, he gives up himself to like support her, or these stories that, for number one, the boys aren't watching those movies.
Yeah, they didn't get the memo.
Yeah, they didn't get the memo. They're watching, like Die Hard, like they're that is not in their frame of reference. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you're not showing up in your role as taking care of everybody and doing everything, and putting me on a pedestal and all that kind of thing, instead of wanting to meet someone as a partner, as an equal partner, as like, hey, you play your part, I play my part. Let's see who we are. Like I said in mine, who are we? Who am I by myself? And then who are we? And that's a decision both people get to make.
Right.
It's like an intentional decision, and it changes. That doesn't mean it's set in stone, but it's an intentional question. Who am I? And then who are we?
Yeah. And our society, like I said, sets us up to try and do it the other way.
Yeah.
And then we end up so confused and hurt, I think, and confused.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I think that I also would tell myself that one day you're going to enjoy.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Black Friday week starting November 21st.
Alone time. When you were talking about always feeling like you needed to have somebody with you, I was the oldest. And so on the other side, I always had people trailing after me. And so it's funny. I don't know that it's funny, but it's really interesting to hear that from the youngest point of view and the similarities in that, because I never really had alone time. My sister was born when I was 10 and a half months. So she was always there from what I can remember. And then having to go by myself was really hard. And but now I adore alone time, probably because I don't get as much of it. Maybe one day I won't like it, but I just need to let that self, the younger self, know that one day you're going to like it. So find a way to enjoy it, because you might not always get it when you want it.
Right. Or even just get curious why you're like, for me, I'm talking to myself, like why, if you're uncomfortable being in your own energy, with your own self, get curious about that.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Exactly.
But instead I was just more like, my focus was just on making sure that discomfort was gone. Just that was where I was hustling, was like, just don't let discomfort into your life. Stop it at all costs.
Which I think is a very natural childlike quality.
Yeah.
That we all are born with, right? We want to be comfortable.
Yeah. But emotional maturity to go beyond discomfort, for sure. That's just not possible at a young age.
No. But a really good thing to learn, I think. I had a friend, and I don't remember exactly what age I was in high school, but we would have this notebook, and she would write in it, and then I would write in it, because we didn't have phones I know that's really hard for my kids to understand, which is hilarious to me. And I guess that's the only reality they've ever known, but it's just funny.
Yes.
Like when Lauren told me, well, you used hashtag in the 90s. I was like, no, that was a pound sign. And we used it on the phone. Anyway.
Yes. That was like, enter your 4-digit code followed by the pound sign. That's what that was.
Yeah. My kids are like, Mom, what's the pound sign? They get all nervous and sweaty. I'm like, it's that thing, right? It's a hashtag. Oh, okay.
That's snarling. I love it. I love it.
Anyway, but we would write these notes, and I remember saying one time to her, I wish I don't know how I said this, and I don't want it to be triggering to anybody, but I said, if I died, I don't think anyone would come to my funeral. And I really believed that. And if I could go back and talk to her and say, Chalene, you're always going to have friends. You're always going to have people that will show up for you. Even in the lonely times, that you will have friends. They might not be super close proximity wise, but it'll get easier to do that. And you'll always have friends. And that has been really, friends have made a huge impact on my life. I think all of us probably feel that a little bit, but just stop feeling the scarcity and start looking at what's there.
I could see how being the oldest would be unique, because as anybody younger, you have somebody ahead that's paved the way. But as the oldest, it would be really important to have people around you that could pave some way for you. You know what I mean? Like, I could see how that would be. I mean, I just am so grateful for the people that trailblazed things that made it easier for me, and I think that an oldest child takes on a heavy load. It's
an exciting load sometimes.
Yeah.
to be the first one to do things, but it is a heavy
True.
load. And I remember telling my parents that, my that the younger siblings should be really grateful for me because I was the guinea pig, and I was.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
my parents had no other experience raising kids.
Right. Same with
And
my oldest. I'm like, sorry.
I know, so true. Oh, that's fun. That's really fun. Um, let's see. I would want to say that watch out for things that you make fun of because you'll probably embrace them.
100%.
Yeah. There's certain things that my mom did, and I'd say like that is so dumb. And then 10 years later, here I am doing the same thing and loving it. So
Right.
yeah, just watch out for those things. I think that would be a great thing to tell myself. When you're ready to make fun of something, just think about it a little bit longer.
And don't you think like that's the thing? If we could let ourselves be more of ourselves, then we're able to let other people be more of themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's in total opposition to the fact, like, how dare they do whatever how dare they do whatever they weirdly want? I don't do that, and it's like the real suffering is that we don't know how to do it for ourselves. We don't know how to do that. And so that feels uncomfortable when someone else does something that we don't like
Yeah.
or it's like, it doesn't hurt you if they do something weird. Like, but it did. It felt like it did
I
in
know
some
it
weird
did.
way, some dumb
Yeah,
way.
in college, my friend told me that her favorite quote was everybody is someone else's weirdo. And I have adopted that phrase and I even added on to it. And I'm so glad to be yours because like I
Nice.
am weird to other people, just as like, they're weird to me. And so when I look at somebody else saying that's so weird, I have to go,
Yep.
there's something you do that someone else thinks is weird. So let's just embrace it all.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yep. Yep. I love that. I totally
Yeah.
love that.
And then I think the last thing I would say is to myself is you are not bad. And I
Mm,
think I felt a lot of my youth that that I was doing things wrong or bad and just trying to hustle for that,
mhm,
that good job or that's the right way. And
mhm,
just recognizing that, you're going to go through life and mistakes are going to happen and
mhm.
that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
And, I'm proud of you for all those choices that you made because it brought you here and
Mhm.
we're doing good. We're doing great. And you're not bad, that you are good. And that feels really hard to say, but
Yeah.
if I could have told my high school self that, oh, I could have saved a lot of painful moments. But
Yes.
yeah, so if you're in high school, tell yourself
Yeah.
you are good.
You are good and feel it
Yeah.
in your body.
Hmm.
Practice it until it feels true. Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. You asked me if your high school self would be surprised about at you now. What would you say? What would you say to that question?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think we ever would have pictured. I think there's pieces of my life that I would have, I could say that I would say my lifestyle looks a lot like the lifestyle my parents had,
Hmm.
but some of my life choices are definitely not what I would have thought. And I'm so
Hmm.
glad.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. Unfortunately, our teenage years are they're packed with tough. You go from this child to an adult in the world, and that teenagehood is in between, and it's a rough time. It's a rough time.
It
And you
is.
you got to be adult enough to, you know, make the right choice and young enough to listen to your parents. Those,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like that's hard to do. That's those are almost in conflict with each other. Is like I need to take care of myself, but also be obedient to my parents. And I hope that, maybe someone that's listening to this, whether you have a child or a grandchild that's maybe in their teen years, they're going to be okay.
Yes.
They're going to be okay. Especially if you more support and love them, they're going to come out the other side. I wish I could go back to my parenting of my teens a little bit differently and say, I would allow you just what do you need? I'm here. Tell me more about what you're going on. You know, what do you want to talk about? Is there anything on your mind? Be more, let them take the lead and, kind of be, it's funny because we watch these shows like, Yoda never taught like, here's how you be, it was like letting him go through the motions and learning for himself. Like that's the Jedi way. But I was more like, because I wanted other people, because that's looking at myself from another angle or needing to show up in the right way, I was very much focused on what it looked like from the outside rather than really getting familiar with what was going on the inside for myself and for my kids.
Yeah, I think you're right. My mom was talking to me and she said, I wish I could have told you as a teenager that I trust you. And so I've really tried to say that to my teenagers of like, I trust you. And not that I'm not trying to manipulate you to say, I trust you because I know you're going to do what I want you to do, but it's like, you're in the situation and I trust you, and giving them that, that little zing of personal power. I hope that's what I can do. To let them know that, yes, this is a messy time of life, but you got this.
Yes. And I think that probably felt a little scary to say. Like that feels like there's no boundaries around that. And yet I think it was the best thing you could have done for your kids. I think that is amazing that you do that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we'll count that on the positive side, although there's probably plenty to counterbalance that, but that's just the journey.
Yeah, that's just the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you live in the same spot growing up?
I lived in Georgia growing up, so I lived in the South.
During your high school. Okay. So during that time. So yeah, interesting. A different place from where you ended up now. Did you think you would move around, or would you plant yourself there? Did you see yourself living there?
I guess my family, we always kind of moved around with my dad's job. So I was kind of expecting that just because that's what I knew. And I wanted to live anywhere but Utah. So careful what you wish for.
That's right. That's right. Oh, funny. Well, I love that you shared and were vulnerable about those really, I think, I mean, the things that you shared about, I'm good and I trust myself and I don't need to hustle. I mean, I think if we were to step in the shoes of almost every teenager, I think those would be going through their mind, and yet trying to portray the opposite, right? Trying to say that's not the way it is. And so for you to speak it out loud and say, this is what it was like, I think is so powerful. And I hope that even those that are listening that are like me, kissing 50, like go back to those versions of yourself and give those parts of yourself some encouragement and notice the complexity of situations, because of course you wanted to feel good. So you're going to do all this stuff to be good. And yet the secret sauce was in an inside job, an inside job. And there's still time to do that inside work. That it's never a finished product, and we're always in process. And that's why we talk about wholeness, because all of it brings you to where you're at, just like you said. And so I really, really appreciate your vulnerability and willingness to share those feelings of being a teen, those teen years.
Thanks. Well, look out for those pictures. They're coming.
When most people are asked what they want, they will answer, I want to be happy. But happy takes practice. And that's what the Wholeness Library is all about. So check it out free at thewholenessnetwork.com.
Do you have an online course or an event or a book you'd like to promote? Then you're in the right place. You can advertise right here on mindbodyspirit.fm, the podcast network. Our engaged podcast listeners would love to hear from you. Contact info at mindbodyspirit.fm to ask about podcast advertising. It works.
Are you ready to ignite your best life and illuminate the world? I'm Stephanie James. I'm a motivational speaker, transformation coach, and psychotherapist. And what lights me up is helping people just like you create the greatest versions of themselves. On my podcast, Igniting the Spark, I will help you ignite your joy and reach new heights in your personal and professional life. Join me for some incredible conversations with authors, spiritual teachers, and other influential thought leaders to help guide you on your way. If you are ready to stop playing small, join me for Igniting the Spark on the mindbodyspirit.fm network or wherever you get your podcasts, and ignite your best life.